Vrika stared at the assignment details on her datapad with all four of her eyes widening in disbelief. The blue-skinned alien turned to her classmates sitting beside her in the grand lecture hall of the Galactic University of Sciences. A death world? Professor ZX Thrax wants us to study a death world? She whispered, her voice quivering slightly. Merle clicked his mandibles in excitement, the sound barely audible over the buzz of 200 alien students packing up their various learning tools. The insect-like Thexian's compound eyes gleamed with interest. Not just any death world, Merle said. Earth, the most famous one. Their third companion, Quip, floated gently in a containment suit that kept his gaseous form together. The swirling mist inside the transparent case formed what might be considered a frown. Famous is not the word I would use, Quip said, his voice coming through the suit's speakers. Infamous is more accurate. No research team has stayed on the planet for more than 3 days without equipment failure or injury. The 3 students were the top of their xenobiology class. Their assignment seemed simple on the surface: research and present findings on why Earth was classified as a Class 12 death world. But the implications made Vrika nervous. We should check the archives, she suggested, leading her friends out of the lecture hall and into the sweeping corridors of the university. There must be some information we can use without having to go there ourselves. The galactic archives were housed in a massive crystal structure that reflected the light of the 3 suns overhead. Inside, the students found a quiet corner and began their search. Earth, 3rd planet from a G-type main sequence star. Merle read from the display. Mostly covered in dihydrogen monoxide. Water, Vrika translated, shuddering. On her homeworld, that much water would dissolve the protective coating on her skin. Atmosphere is 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen. Quip continued reading. He wobbled slightly in his containment suit. Oxygen, the corrosive gas. No wonder it's called a death world. The more they read, the more confused they became. Earth seemed designed to kill most sentient life in the galaxy. Its heavy gravity would crush many species. Its oxygen atmosphere would corrode the lungs of others. Its water would dissolve the bodies of some, like Vrika. Its temperature ranges were extreme, its weather violent and its geology unstable. And yet, Merle said, tapping the screen with one of his claws, there's a dominant species, humans. The display showed images of bipedal creatures with varied skin tones and coverings. They looked fragile compared to many species with no natural armor, weak muscles by galactic standards, and only 2 eyes. How do they survive? Vrika wondered aloud. After hours of research, they found very little useful information. The Galactic Council had placed Earth under a non-interference directive. Few scientific teams had ever visited, and they stayed in orbit or made brief landings. Most information came from automated probes and distant scans. This isn't enough for our assignment, Merle said, his mandibles clicking with frustration. We need more data. You're not suggesting... Vrika started. We need to go there, Quip finished, his gaseous form swirling faster with excitement. The next day, they stood nervously outside Professor Zex Thrax's office. The door slid open to reveal their teacher, a tall, thin alien with crystalline skin that sparkled under the office lights. Enter, the professor said, gesturing with one of his forearms. Vrika stepped forward as team leader. Professor, we've been researching Earth for our assignment, but the archive data is limited. We request permission to conduct direct observation. Professor. ZX Thrax leaned back in his chair, which adjusted to support his crystalline body. You want to go to Earth? A Class 12 death world? Do you understand what that means? We do, Professor, Merle said. Earth has conditions that would be lethal to most galactic species, but we need first-hand data to truly understand why it earned this classification. The professor was silent for a long moment. The university has a small research vessel with appropriate shielding. It was used for the last Earth mission 5 cycles ago. Vrika's hearts beat faster. Was he actually considering their request? If I grant permission, Professor Zex Thrax continued, there will be strict rules. You will remain in orbit for most observations. Any landings must be brief. You will use cloaking technology at all times, and under no circumstances will you make contact with humans. Why not? Quip asked, floating closer. Are they dangerous? Unpredictably so, the professor replied. They evolved on a world that tries to kill them daily. Their bodies constantly fight microscopic invaders. They survive extreme temperature changes and weather that would qualify as natural disasters. On most worlds, they breathe corrosive gas and drink a universal solvent. He leaned forward, his crystalline face serious. What kind of species thrives in such conditions? One that is incredibly resilient, adaptable, and potentially dangerous when threatened. The Galactic Council has good reasons for the non-interference directive. Despite these warnings, the professor granted their request. The next week was spent in intensive preparation. They studied Earth's varied environments, its dangerous wildlife, and its unpredictable weather patterns. They were fitted with environmental suits designed to protect them from Earth conditions. Finally, the day of departure arrived. The 3 students boarded the research vessel named Curious Mind. It was small but well equipped with laboratories, observation equipment, and powerful shields. Setting course for the Sol system, Merle announced from the pilot's seat. His insectoid reflexes made him the best pilot among them. Environmental systems online, Quip added, his gaseous form moving through special tubes that allowed him to operate the ship's controls without leaving his protective environment. Beginning pre-jump procedures, Vrika said, feeling both nervous and excited as she initiated the faster-than-light drive. The stars outside stretched into lines as the Curious Mind jumped to faster-than-light speed. The students were on their way to Earth, unaware that their simple academic assignment was about to become much more complicated. As the ship traveled through space, Vrika reviewed their research plan. They would establish 3 observation points, one in a human settlement to study their society, one in a rural area to observe their interaction with their environment, and one in a wilderness region to study Earth's natural conditions. How long until we reach Earth? Quip asked. 3 standard days, Merle replied. Enough time to finalize our observation protocols. Vrika looked out at the streaking stars. She couldn't shake the feeling that this journey would change their understanding, not just of Earth, but of life in the galaxy itself. 3 days later, the Curious Mind dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Sol system. The 3 alien students gasped as they saw the blue-green planet on their view screen. Activating cloaking systems, Vrika said, tapping commands into her console. We cannot risk being detected by Earth satellites or observation systems. Scanning the planet's surface, Merle added, his insect-like appendages moving quickly across the controls. The amount of electromagnetic radiation coming from the surface is incredible. Quip floated closer to the view screen, his gaseous form swirling with excitement inside his containment suit. Look at all that water, and those white swirling patterns in the atmosphere. Weather systems, Vrika explained. Some of them can produce winds strong enough to destroy human structures. The Curious Mind entered orbit around Earth, and the students began their observations. They launched small, cloaked drones to 3 different locations as planned: a large human city called New York, a farming region in Iowa, and a remote wilderness area in Alaska. The readings from these drones are hard to believe, Merle said, clicking his mandibles in surprise. The temperature difference between the Alaska site and the New York site is over 30 degrees. And humans live in both places? Quip asked. On my homeworld, a 5-degree change would require complete environmental reconfiguration, Vrika focused her 4 eyes on the drone feed from New York City. The streets were filled with humans walking, driving vehicles, and going about their lives. They wore different outer coverings depending on their activities, but seemed unbothered by direct exposure to sunlight, wind, and various pollutants in the air. Look at them, she said. They walk around with minimal protection. Their skin is directly exposed to the atmosphere. They breathe unfiltered air. Merle was studying the agricultural region. These humans are deliberately modifying their environment to grow specific plants for consumption. They use machines to turn over the soil, disrupting countless microorganisms. On my world, such action would create a biohazard alert. The most fascinating data is coming from Alaska, Quip said. The temperature is below freezing. Water exists, in solid form. Yet there are humans living there in small settlements. They actually go outside in these conditions. The students spent the next week observing from orbit, collecting data, and becoming increasingly amazed by human adaptability. They recorded humans swimming in oceans, climbing mountains, running long distances for pleasure, and eating an incredible variety of plant and animal matter. We need closer observation, Vrika decided. The drones can only tell us so much. They prepared to visit Earth personally. Their environmental suits were designed to protect them from Earth's hostile conditions. Vrika's suit would prevent water from touching her sensitive skin. Merle's would filter the corrosive oxygen before he breathed it. Quip's containment suit was reinforced to withstand Earth's heavy gravity. They landed their small observation pod in a forested area outside New York City, making sure to maintain their cloaking field. When the door opened, they experienced Earth directly for the first time. The gravity is even stronger than I expected, Merle said, his 6 legs bending under the pressure. The air is so dense, Quip noted, his containment suit working hard to maintain pressure balance. Vrika stepped carefully onto the Earth soil. The ground feels solid but somehow alive. There must be millions of microorganisms beneath our feet. They moved through the forest, recording everything with their instruments. The variety of life forms was overwhelming. Different plants, insects, birds, and other animals existed in complex relationships. Many of these creatures would be deadly to the alien students without their protective suits. According to my readings, there are over 100 potential pathogens in the air right now, Merle said. Yet humans breathe this constantly. Their immune systems must be incredibly robust, Vrika replied. They live in a constant state of biological warfare. As they approached the edge of the forest, they saw a human recreational area. Several young humans were playing on metal structures, climbing, swinging, and jumping without any apparent concern for safety. Look at those small humans, Quip said. They are deliberately exposing themselves to falling risks. They climb up and then jump down. They appear to be training their bodies to withstand physical trauma, Merle suggested. A logical adaptation for a dangerous world. They observed a young human female fall from a height that would seriously injure many galactic species. The child cried briefly, was comforted by an adult, and then returned to playing. Incredible resilience, Vrika noted, both physical and psychological. Later they visited the Iowa location. Fields stretched in all directions, methodically planted with identical crops. Huge machines moved through these fields, harvesting plants with ruthless efficiency. Their food production is remarkably industrialized, Merle observed. They have shaped their environment to maximize output. Yet they still depend on natural processes, Quip added. Sunlight, rainfall, soil nutrients. They work with the dangerous conditions rather than trying to eliminate them completely. Their final observation site in Alaska presented the most extreme conditions. The temperature was far below freezing. Snow covered everything. The students watched as local humans moved about in thermal clothing, using vehicles specially designed for snow travel. According to galactic standards, this region should be uninhabitable, Vrika said. Yet humans not only survive here, they build permanent settlements. They observed a human male shoveling snow from a pathway. He wore minimal protection against the cold and seemed unbothered by the physical exertion. Their temperature tolerance is remarkable, Merle said. This human is maintaining homeostasis in conditions that would freeze my hemolymph solid. As they completed their observations and prepared to return to their ship, the students realized they had only begun to understand why Earth was called a Deathworld. It's not just the physical conditions, Vrika said as they lifted off from Alaska. It's what those conditions have done to the humans. They evolved to survive and thrive in an environment that would kill most other species. They don't even realize how dangerous their world is, Quip added. To them, this is normal. Unknown to the students, their observation pod had developed a small malfunction during their Alaska visit. The extreme cold had affected a vital component of the cloaking system. As they returned to the curious mind, a brief energy spike appeared on the monitoring equipment of a nearby human research station. The storm came suddenly, as Alaskan weather often does. Swirling snow reduced visibility to near zero. Howling winds battered the observation pod as Quip tried to maintain control. "We need to return to the ship immediately," Vrika said, her 4 eyes wide with concern. "These conditions are beyond the safety parameters we established." Merle checked the instruments with his slender insect limbs. "The wind speed is increasing. Ice is forming on our external sensors." Quip struggled with the controls. "The pod is not responding correctly. Something is wrong with the stabilization system." A warning light flashed on the control panel. The cloaking system was failing, its power fluctuating as the pod systems diverted energy to life support and stabilization. "We're visible to Earth. Sensors," Vrika said, her voice rising in pitch. "We must leave now." "I'm trying," Quip replied, his gaseous form swirling frantically inside his containment suit. "The controls are not responding properly." The pod lurched sideways as a powerful gust hit it. Alarms sounded as the small craft began to lose altitude. "Brace for impact," Merle clicked, securing himself to his seat. The pod crashed into a snowbank, 2 miles from a small human research station. The impact was jarring but not catastrophic. The craft's safety systems had prevented a complete disaster, but they were now stranded on Earth's surface in dangerous conditions, with a damaged vehicle and a failing cloaking system. "Status report," Vrika demanded, unbuckling her safety restraints. "The propulsion system is offline," Merle reported. "Life support is functioning, but power reserves are limited. The cloaking system is operating at 20% capacity." "My containment suit was damaged in the crash," Quip said with alarm. A small crack had appeared in the transparent material that kept his gaseous form together. "I'm attempting emergency repairs, but this suit was not designed for direct exposure to Earth conditions for extended periods." At the nearby research station, Dr. Laura Bailey and Dr. Ben Wright were monitoring weather instruments when an unusual energy signature appeared on their screens. "What is that?" Laura asked, pointing to the reading. "It's like nothing I've seen before." Ben adjusted the settings. "It appeared suddenly during that last big gust, and now it's fluctuating. Could be electrical interference from the storm. Or it could be someone in trouble," Laura said. She walked to the window and peered out into the blizzard. "No planes should be flying in this weather, but if someone crashed—" "You think we should check it out?" Ben asked, already reaching for his extreme weather gear. "We have to," Laura replied. "If someone's out there, they won't survive long in these temperatures." Back at the crashed pod, the 3 alien students were facing a crisis. The temperature inside the pod was dropping as power reserves diminished. Quip's damaged containment suit was becoming a serious problem. "I can't contact the curious mind," Vrika said, trying the communication system again. "The storm is blocking our signal." "We need to conserve power," Merle suggested. "Shut down all non-essential systems. If we turn off the remaining cloaking, and a human finds us, we will have violated the non-interference directive," Vrika pointed out. "If we don't, Quip might die," Merle replied. "The containment suit needs power to maintain integrity." They made their decision. Vrika shut down the cloaking system entirely, diverting all remaining power to life support and Quip's containment suit. Meanwhile, Laura and Ben had suited up and set out from the research station on snowmobiles. They carried emergency medical supplies, thermal blankets, and portable heaters. They followed the strange energy reading on a handheld device. "The signal is getting stronger," Ben shouted over the howling wind. "Just over this ridge." They crested. The snow-covered hill and their headlights illuminated something impossible. Half buried in the snow was a craft unlike anything human-made. Its smooth curved surface had no visible seams. A soft glow emanated from what might be windows. "What is that?" Laura whispered, though the wind swallowed her words. Inside the pod, the aliens detected the approaching humans. "We've been discovered," Vrika said, a tremor in her voice. "This is exactly what Professor ZX Thrax warned us about." "What will they do to us?" Quip asked, fear evident in the rapid swirling of his gaseous form. I don't know, Merle replied. Our education about humans is limited. They might be hostile, curious, or frightened. We should prepare for any reaction. The humans approached, cautiously. Laura circled to what appeared to be a viewing port and shone her light inside. What she saw made her gasp. 3 creatures that could only be described as aliens looked back at her. One blue-skinned with 4 eyes, one insect-like with multiple limbs, and one seemingly made of swirling gas in a cracked containment device. "Ben?" she called, her voice steady despite her shock. "You need to see this." Ben joined her, his eyes widening behind his snow goggles. "Are those—" "Yes," Laura replied. "And I think they're in trouble." Inside the pod, the aliens watched the humans with equal fascination and fear. "They don't appear aggressive," Merle observed. "Their body language suggests caution but not hostility." "The damaged cloaking system is our biggest problem now," Vrika said. "We've been seen. The non-interference directive has been broken. My containment suit is losing integrity," Quip reminded them. "In 1 hour it will fail completely. Earth's atmosphere will disperse my molecular structure." Outside, Laura and Ben had made a decision. Laura raised her hand in what she hoped was a universal gesture of peace. Then she pointed to the crack in Quip's containment suit, then to her own repair tools. "Did that human just offer to help?" Vrika asked in disbelief. "I think so," Merle replied. "This contradicts our understanding of primitive species' responses to the unknown." "We don't have much choice," Quip said. "My suit will fail without repairs." Vrika hesitated, then moved to what served as the pod's door. With careful movements, she operated the emergency release. Cold air rushed in as the door slid open. "Hello," Laura said, keeping her voice calm and friendly. "We saw your vehicle. You seem to need help." The aliens couldn't understand her words, but her tone and gestures were clear enough. "We cannot communicate verbally," Merle said. "But perhaps we can establish basic understanding." He stepped forward and pointed to the crack in Quip's containment suit, then mimicked a fixing motion. Laura nodded and held up her repair kit. "We can try to fix that," she said. What followed was a cautious first contact unlike anything described in the xenobiology textbooks. The humans didn't run in fear or attack. Instead, they worked carefully to help seal the crack in Quip's suit using materials from their repair kit. As the aliens and humans worked together to solve the immediate crisis orbiting silently above them, the curious mind began detecting the pod's emergency signal through breaks in the storm. Laura and Ben brought the 3 alien students back to their research station as the blizzard intensified. The temporary repair to Quip's containment suit was holding, but all 4 of Vrika's eyes constantly checked for new cracks. The small observation pod was too damaged to provide shelter, and the aliens reluctantly agreed to go with the humans. The research station was a simple building with thick walls to keep out the cold. Inside it was warm and filled with scientific equipment. The aliens looked around with interest and caution. "Welcome to our humble outpost," Ben said, knowing the aliens couldn't understand his words, but hoping his friendly tone would communicate good intentions. He smiled and gestured around the room. "They appear to want us to feel comfortable in their dwelling," Merle observed to his companions. "This contradicts all our briefings about how primitive species respond to unknown life forms." Laura brought out a first aid kit and pointed to Quip's containment suit. "I think we can make a better repair here," she said. She laid out various tools and materials on a table. Vrika watched Laura carefully. The blue-skinned alien was still nervous, but the human's behavior puzzled her. They continued to offer assistance. Why would they help unknown creatures? Ben went to a computer and pulled up a simple drawing program. He drew a picture of Earth, then simple figures representing the aliens and humans. He pointed to the aliens, then made a questioning gesture. "I think the human is asking where we come from," Merle said. He stepped forward cautiously and took control of the drawing device. He sketched a simple star map showing Earth and the location of their university world. Ben's eyes widened. "They're showing us their home system," he said to Laura. "They understand. We're trying to communicate." While Ben and Merle began establishing basic communication through drawings, Laura worked with Quip on his suit. She examined the temporary fix they had made in the field, then showed Quip a stronger sealant from their supplies. "This should hold better than the field patch," she said, demonstrating how the material worked on a piece of plastic. Quip observed, carefully, then nodded his entire containment unit in what he hoped was a recognizable gesture of agreement. Laura proceeded to apply the new sealant to the crack in his suit. Her movements were slow and precise, showing extraordinary care when working near the delicate equipment that kept the gaseous alien alive. "Their fine motor control is impressive," Quip commented to Vrika. "And they appear to understand the importance of my containment suit without any explanation." "They are surprisingly intelligent for a species from a Deathworld," Vrika agreed. "Perhaps their harsh environment forced rapid cognitive development." At the computer, Ben and Mararl had progressed to sharing simple mathematical equations as a universal language. Ben wrote 2 + 2 = 4, and Mararl clicked his mandibles in what might have been amusement before continuing with more complex formulas. "They understand advanced mathematics," Ben said excitedly to Laura. "We're actually communicating with aliens." Laura finished the repair on Quip's suit and stepped back to examine her work. "That should hold much better now," she said with satisfaction. "How are you doing with the math?" "Great," Ben replied. "We're establishing basic communication. I think they're students or scientists of some kind. They keep drawing what looks like research equipment." Vrika had been examining the humans' scientific instruments. She noticed weather monitoring, equipment, geological sample collection tools, and biological research devices. These humans were clearly scientists like themselves. "They are researchers," she said to her companions. "They study this hostile environment, just as we study theirs." Oh, thought struck her suddenly. Perhaps that is why they offered help instead of showing fear. Scientists are naturally curious. They want to understand us. While the impromptu first contact continued, orbiting high above them, the curious mind had detected the emergency signal from the damaged pod. Vrika and Merle's communication devices had been damaged in the crash, but the pod itself was still sending out a weak distress call during breaks in the storm. The ship's automated systems began calculating a rescue trajectory. It would attempt to land near the pod's location when weather conditions permitted. In the research station, communication was slowly improving. Through drawings, mathematics, and simple gestures, the two groups began to understand each other. The humans learned that the aliens were students on a research mission. The aliens learned that Laura and Ben were climate scientists studying weather patterns in the Arctic. "We need to contact the university," Merle said to his companions. "The non-interference directive has been broken. Professor Zex Thrax must be informed." "Our communication devices are not working," Vrika reminded him, "and the pod is too damaged to send a clear signal through this storm. Perhaps these humans have communication technology we could adapt," Quip suggested, his gaseous form now stable in his repaired containment suit. Emerald drew a simple communication device on the computer and showed it to Ben. The human nodded in understanding and pointed to their satellite communication equipment in the corner of the room. "They need to make a call," Ben said to Laura. "I think they have others who might be looking for them." "Makes sense," Laura replied. "They must have come here in something bigger than that little pod we found." Working together, the humans and aliens managed to connect the alien technology to the human satellite dish. The combined system was strange-looking but functional. It boosted the signal strength enough to cut through the storm interference. Vrika sent a brief message to the curious mind, explaining their situation and coordinates. The reply came quickly. The ship had detected their emergency signal and was already planning a rescue operation. It would land as soon as the storm cleared enough for safe descent. "Our ship will come for us when the weather improves," Vrika told her companions. "But what happens then? We have made direct contact with humans. The directive has been broken. These humans saved Quip's life," Merle pointed out. "They have shown intelligence, compassion, and scientific curiosity. Perhaps the directive should be reconsidered." Laura brought hot drinks for everyone, including water at room temperature for the aliens after Marl indicated it would be safe for them. The humans and aliens sat together, unable to speak each other's languages, but connected by their shared scientific curiosity. I always believed life existed elsewhere, Laura said, sipping her coffee. I just never expected to meet any in the middle of an Alaskan blizzard. I think they're supposed to be hiding from us, Ben said, glancing at the aliens' advanced technology. That pod had some kind of cloaking device that failed. They seem worried about breaking rules. Outside, the blizzard began to weaken. The howling wind decreased to a gentle whisper. The snow stopped falling, and in the clearing sky, a new light appeared, the curious mind coming to rescue its students. 2 months later, Vrika, Merle, and Quip stood nervously in the grand presentation hall of the Galactic University of Sciences. The room was filled beyond capacity. Students, professors, and even members of the Galactic Council had come to hear their findings about Earth. Professor ZX Thrax sat in the front row, his crystalline form reflecting the lights overhead. His expression was unreadable, but the students knew he was still unhappy about their broken non-interference directive. "Begin your presentation," the head of the academic board said. The tall, tentacled alien gestured to the large display screen. Behind them, Vrika stepped forward, all 4 of her eyes blinking rapidly with nervousness. "Honored board members, esteemed professors, fellow students," she began. "Our research expedition to Earth was meant to be a simple observation mission to understand why it is classified as a death world. It became much more." She activated the display, showing images of Earth's varied environments. "Earth is indeed a death world by galactic standards," she continued. "Its gravity is 1.2 times stronger than our university world. Its oxygen atmosphere would be corrosive to many species. Its temperature ranges are extreme. Its weather can be violent and unpredictable." Merle clicked forward to show images of Earth's diverse wildlife. "The planet contains millions of different species," he explained. "Many are dangerous predators. Others are microscopic organisms that would be deadly to most of us. The dominant species, humans, have evolved to survive these conditions." The audience murmured as images of humans appeared on screen. They looked so fragile compared to many galactic species. They had no natural armor, no claws, and limited physical strength by galactic standards. "Humans have adapted to their dangerous world in surprising ways," Quip said, floating forward in his repaired containment suit. "They can survive temperature ranges that would kill most species. They breathe corrosive oxygen as easily as we breathe noble gases. They drink water which would dissolve many of us. But the most remarkable thing about humans," Vrika continued, "is not their physical adaptations. It is their mental and social characteristics." She showed videos of humans helping each other during natural disasters, working together to build complex structures, and using technology to overcome environmental challenges. "When our observation pod crashed in a severe storm, we were forced to make contact with humans," Merle explained. "Based on our education about primitive species, we expected fear, aggression, or panic. Instead," Quip added, "they immediately offered assistance. They repaired my damaged containment suit, shared their shelter, and attempted communication through mathematics and drawings." The display showed images of Laura and Ben, the human scientists who had helped them. The audience leaned forward with interest. "These humans are researchers like us," Vrika said. "They study their own hostile environment to better understand it. They showed curiosity instead of fear when meeting unknown life forms." Merle clicked to the next slide, showing data charts. "Our analysis suggests that evolving on a death world has given humans unique characteristics. Their bodies constantly fight harmful microorganisms, making their immune systems remarkably robust. Their minds have evolved to solve problems quickly and creatively. Most surprisingly," Quip said, "living in harsh conditions has made humans more cooperative, not more aggressive. They survive by helping each other overcome environmental challenges." The presentation continued with detailed data about human physiology, psychology, and society. The students explained how humans had adapted to every environment on their planet, from frozen tundra to scorching deserts. They showed evidence of human intelligence, creativity, and resilience. "In conclusion," Vrika said, "Earth is correctly classified as a death world. Its conditions would be lethal to most galactic species without significant protection. But we believe the current policy of non-interference should be reconsidered. A murmur ran through the audience. This was a bold statement from mere students. Humans are not the mindless primitives of galactic legend, Merle continued. They are intelligent, adaptable, and surprisingly peaceful given their harsh evolutionary history. We propose, Quip added, that humans could be valuable galactic citizens. Their unique evolutionary path has given them abilities that complement our own. They can survive conditions that would kill most of us. They solve problems in ways we might not consider. The room was silent for a moment. Then Professor Zexthrax stood up. You broke the non-interference directive, he said sternly. You exposed yourselves to humans and shared information about our civilization. Yes, Professor, Vrika admitted, and we accept any consequences for that decision. But without breaking that rule, we would not have learned the truth about humans. And what truth is that? The professor asked. Merle answered, that judging a species by the harshness of their homeworld is short-sighted. Humans are not dangerous because they evolved on a Deathworld. They are remarkable because of it. The academic board conferred quietly among themselves. Finally, the head of the board spoke. Your research is compelling, the tentacled alien said. We will recommend that the Galactic Council reconsider the classification of Earth and its inhabitants. This may take years, but it is a start. Vrika, Merle, and Quip looked at each other in triumph. Their academic assignment had become much more important than they ever expected. After the presentation, Professor Zexthrax approached his students. Your methods were questionable, he said, but your results are undeniable. You have changed our understanding of Deathworlds and their inhabitants. What will happen to Laura and Ben? Quip asked. The humans who helped us? The council has agreed to monitor them rather than attempt memory alteration, the professor replied. They may be useful contacts if official first contact is ever approved. 6 months later, the students graduated with honors. Their research became the most studied xenobiology paper in university history. And somewhere on Earth, 2 human scientists watched the stars with new understanding, waiting for the day when they might again meet visitors from beyond their world. In her lab in Alaska, Laura Bailey looked up at the night sky. Do you think they'll ever come back? She asked Ben, who was checking weather instruments nearby. Hope so, he replied. We have so much to learn from each other. Little did they know, the Galactic Council was already preparing for official first contact. Earth would soon join the galactic community, not as a dangerous anomaly, but as a valuable member whose unique evolution through extreme adversity had prepared them for challenges no other species could face. And it all began with 3 curious students who dared to question why Earth was called a Deathworld.